Welcome to CBS Mornings. We're going to begin in Washington, where President Biden is pushing fellow Democrats to unite amid disagreements in his own party over domestic policy goals. Mr. Biden met with House and Senate Democrats yesterday to work on two very big pieces of legislation: a $1 trillion infrastructure bill and a larger, about $3.5 trillion spending bill, social infrastructure it's been called. Two moderate Senate Democrats, Joe Manchin and Kristen Sinema, say the $3.5 trillion cost of that second bill is simply too high. Now, the bill cannot pass without their support. Senate Budget Committee Chairman Bernie Sanders joins us from Capitol Hill for an exclusive interview. He was one of the lawmakers who met with the president yesterday. Senator, good morning to you. Your party's in a difficult spot right here. You've got as much as $4.5 trillion all told that could go to the American people, everything from roads and bridges to child care and health care, and it's all held up. How'd that meeting go with the president yesterday?
Listen, Tony, what we are trying to do is pass the most consequential piece of legislation for working families since the 1930s. What's happening in America, as I think most people know, is the very rich are becoming much richer while working families are struggling. And what we are saying is maybe, just maybe, now is the time for government to represent ordinary people, not just wealthy campaign contributors. And what we are running into is enormous opposition from the drug companies, because they don't want to have us lower the cost of prescription drugs. The healthcare industry surely does not want us to expand Medicare to cover dental, eyeglasses, and hearing aids. The fossil fuel industry doesn't want us to tackle climate change. This is a consequential and enormous struggle. We're going to win it.
Well, Senator, I'm sure lobbying is going on, as it always does, but you're also running into opposition within your own party. You've got at least two senators who say they will not vote for $3.5 trillion. Meanwhile, in the House, you've got progressives saying if that doesn't pass, they won't vote for the infrastructure bill, and everything is in a standstill. Would you take less in the Senate?
Tony,
go ahead.
Tony, look, we got 50 members of the United States Senate. We're getting zero support from the Republicans, who do not want to lower the cost of prescription drugs. They don't want to make community colleges tuition free. They want to give tax breaks to their billionaire friends. We got 50 people.
Senator,
we can't lose one. So what we are trying to do is negotiate, and I think at the end of the day, we are going to come up with an agreement. Now, you asked me about compromise. I have compromised. The bill that should have been passed, in my judgment, was a $6 trillion bill. If you take climate change into consideration, that's the kind of money that we need. We've already made a significant compromise.
But would Senator, you consider a number less than $3.5 trillion?
No, right. Look, we're talking about numbers. You tell me what we should cut. Tell the working families of this country that we don't need to make child care affordable. Tell the American people and the younger people that we should not address the crisis of climate change and try to save the planet. Tell the homeless people that we should not build affordable housing. Tell the young people that we should not make community colleges tuition free. All we are trying to do is address the crises facing working families and demand that the wealthiest people in this country start paying their fair share of taxes. They are fighting back big time. But at the end of the day, I believe we're going to prevail.
But we also know, Senator, listen, all of the causes you stated are all very worthy. We all get it. You don't want to cut any of them. But it gets to the point that you have to get things done. So what are you willing to do? What have you said to Joe Manchin? Have you been talking to him?
Look, there's been an enormous amount of discussion. Let me repeat. I originally, and what the overwhelming majority of members of the Democratic caucus want, is a $6 trillion bill. We have already made a significant compromise. Now, the president I was in the White House yesterday. The president is doing a very good job trying to bring people together. We will see what happens. But right now, we have got to address the needs of working family and finally have the guts to stand up to the big money interests who have so much power in this country.
But Senator, if you're here today saying you're not willing to take less than $3.5 trillion, it sounds like this is not going to happen.
No, let me rephrase your question, Tony. Poll after poll tells me and tells you that what we are trying to do is enormously popular. Every single issue has widespread support, not only from Democrats, but from Republicans and independents. And I think maybe it's time that we stood up for the working families of this country and not for the drug companies and the health insurance industry and the fossil fuel industry. So that's the fight we're in now. At the end of the day, I think we're going to succeed in passing an enormously important piece of legislation for working families.
Senator, you're mentioning working families. We're a week away from the government shutting down, which means hundreds of thousands of government workers will not get paychecks during a pandemic which has already rocked our country. What does the situation look like in the Senate averting the government shutdown?
Well, that's a great question, and obviously nobody wants a shutdown. But once again, I hope people appreciate it. We are getting zero support. We got 50 members of the Democratic caucus, 50 members of the Republican caucus. We're getting zero support. And at this point, although I suspect they will change their mind, you have a Republican leadership not helping us even deal with the debt, raising the debt ceiling, which would plunge the entire planet into an economic depression. So, we have our hands full here with important issues. At the end of the day, I think we will succeed.
It just seems a very frustrating place right now on Capitol Hill. Let's talk about. It seems so, Senator. Let's talk about police reforms. It didn't pass yesterday, despite enormous effort, bipartisan effort. You had Tim Scott, Cory Booker, Karen Bass working on it. Seemed to have momentum
Gayle,
after the death of George Floyd.
Gayle, you talk about
enormous
bipartisan effort. That's not true. I mean, let's be clear. You got a Republican Party which has become a right-wing extremist party. Cory Booker has done a great job trying to bring people together. On basic fundamental issues of police reform, we have gotten virtually no support from Republicans. And I hope people understand this. The Republican Party right now is giving us zero support in taking on the drug companies, giving us zero support in terms of raising the debt ceiling, zero support in terms of trying to prevent a government shutdown.
Senator,
you're right, Senator. Tim Scott doesn't really represent enormous Republican support. You're right about that. But the fact is, you did have senators on both sides trying to make a deal. It did appear to have momentum, some kind of momentum, after the murder of George Floyd. And if you can't get it passed after something as horrific as that, when the Democrats are in control of the Senate and the White House, what will it take to get police reform in this country on a federal level?
Gayle, let's be clear about it. We didn't talk even about voting rights. All right? We didn't talk about the Republican effort in Georgia and Texas and other states to deny people the right to vote, most often people of color, young people, people with disabilities. Yes, the Democrats have the majority. We have control over the Senate, but it's a 50-50 vote. Often you need 60 votes to get things done.
Yeah.
We're getting zero cooperation from Republicans on major issue after major issue.
All right, Senator Sanders, it's always a pleasure speaking with you. You do not hold back, and we appreciate that. And we hope you will come back when there's movement on this issue.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.